And here we go. Welcome to my 30-minute mandatory DOT break. So, as the title says, Greg Doucette, fake Natty, like me? Hey, he's on HRT, I'm HRT. Maybe that's fake Natty. Anyways, there's controversy surrounding Greg Doucette. If you don't know, he's a famous YouTuber, bodybuilder, does a whole bunch of videos, has a Guinness Book of World Records. Anyways, the controversy is, apparently, somebody posted this stupid thing that he had snitched when he got caught with steroids, large quantity of steroids, and that he's a snitch. And it just went from there. It started because one YouTuber got upset because Greg Doucette did a clickbaity, clout-chasing Natty or not on him, and so he did a response. And then all these other people are complaining that Greg Doucette's just a clickbaity cloud chaser. Well, they're clickbaiting and cloud chasing. So guess what I'm doing? This is a clickbaity, cloud chasing, more spews for the views, as Greg would say, video. Actually, it's really to vent some frustration. And that frustration is, like or dislike Greg Doucette. If you're going to get on a video and talk about things, spend five freaking minutes of research at the very least. You want to know how long it took me to find the whole story about this steroid drug ring in Canada Greg Doucette was all tied up in and they got him convicted? 2 Google searches, because my first one I didn't use the right keywords and I didn't see the results I wanted. On the second one, it was the 3rd article that was very easily read. The first 2 were just an overview, but didn't say much. They just talked about Greg. The 3rd one talked about the whole thing. 5 minutes. I refused to do more research because I could probably find out even more facts if I did more research. But this is just to prove that some of these fools, some of these people I actually respected, people I listened to, people I trusted, couldn't spend 5 freaking minutes. They're like, accused of this, accused of that. 5 minutes. And you know what I found out? Greg Doucette got busted after they intervened, caught some drugs in the mail from this other feller, and then they raided Greg Doucette before the other fella. Now, Greg Doucette got busted with a lot of steroids, and then they went after the guy who mailed the drugs. Of course, they knew who he was because he had mailed the drugs. So they used the package to find the drugs, to get to Greg Doucette, to find even more drugs. And then went back to the original guy, which, of course, they had to have known about. Now, in their statement, the guy throws a BlackBerry into the pond. They get the BlackBerry out. They get the information off of it. And that's where they find the whole ring. Sounds like good freaking police work to me. Doesn't sound like Greg Doucette's ratting so far, right? So then I go over the sentencing. They're like, oh, my goodness, he got 20 months of house arrest. It's called conditional sentencing, I believe they call it in Canada. The article's up there. And that does sound a little like, oh wait, it's Canada and conditional sentencing is what they do. Oh, and by the way, it's Canada, so steroids is a Schedule 4, not like a Schedule 3 or 2 as it is in America. Okay, so that changes things. And wait, what did the other people get that were in this ring who all their names are right there? You know, hold on. Severia and Silvestria, I can't say his name. Hubert Sims, Simon Buturn, William Buturn, the father, and the guy who originally they got it from was Eggleston, who is the one who mailed Greg Doucette the drugs, who they intervened, they got the mail before Greg did. That's how they found Greg. And of course they had to have known about Eggleston because, you know, he mailed it. So duh. What sentences did they get? Greg Doucette got the maximum of all of them. He got the highest fine and 20 months provisional sentencing. Eggleston got 20 months provisional sentencing. Everyone got less. So, does that sound logical, like somebody who ratted hair conspirators out? No. No. Either that or he had the crappiest lawyer in the history of lawyering. So what did I do? I went and I typed in average Schedule 4 Canadian sentencing. That's the search I did. Believe it or not, it's not easy to find that. There, you had to go through quite a few. I mean, it almost took me 8-9 whole fucking minutes. 8 or 9 minutes to find, some information on Schedule 4. But I can tell you about Schedule 1. 2 years for maximum sentencing on some of these Schedule 1s if it wasn't near a school and no weapons and, there were no... In Canada, apparently, by having the drugs is one thing, and then what you do in your distribution and exporting and importing and all that, it adds on to the sentence. Well, Greg Doucette was caught as intent to distribute. It's not smuggling. The other guys were caught smuggling because Greg Doucette's in Halifax. That's East Coast. And all of them, where they were producing, were in Victoria. And it was Victoria and Vancouver, which is on the West Coast. So they got even more They got even more charges and the same or less sentencing than Greg Doucette. And they all paid less in fines than Greg Doucette. All of them. So tell me again how this sounds like somebody snitching. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But the fact it took me 5 minutes to find this information, which kind of suggests that that's not true. It's just suggestive. Means that these people I listened to, the people I respected, the people I trusted, couldn't do basic research and give you this information. Give me this information. You know how pissed off that made me? You know how many of them I clicked? And one of them, who I absolutely did trust, had the gall to suggest that Greg Doucette has to prove he didn't snitch. Prove that you didn't do something, that something doesn't exist. How do you prove something doesn't exist? You can prove it exists. You can prove it happened, but you can't. It's very hard to prove it didn't happen. That's very hard to prove. That's why in criminal cases, the onus is on the prosecution to prove it happened. The onus is not on the defense to prove it didn't happen. Now, I don't know how Greg Doucette proved it. Kids said, produce the court records. What good does that do you? A snitch is doing that behind the scenes. It's never going to enter the court records. It's a backdoor deal. But this is a shitty backdoor deal. It sounds like he got the maximum sentence on the Schedule 4 was 2 years. And they do, like I said, in Canada, they do this home arrest thing, provisional, conditional sentencing. So none of them got jail time, because that's not how Canada works. That's how the U.S. works. U.S. likes to throw people in jail. Canada likes to make them stay home. Canada is a very wide spread out country. And if any of the guys broke their conditional sentencing and went to jail, that's on them, not on Greg. Doesn't sound like anyone spent a day in jail. And that's what Greg keeps saying. Name one person who went to jail because of me. Well, this article here by the National Post seems to suggest otherwise, that nobody went to jail. Everyone got conditional sentencing. In fact, one of them, they didn't even sentence because they dragged their feet for so long that the judge threw it out. They all got, and he was going to get a less sentence than Greg too. 5 minutes. Like or dislike Greg. Hate his content, dislike his content, like his voice, hate his voice. It took me no time. I'm just a dumb truck driver, doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I talk about fitness because I'm a 40-year-old guy trying to figure it out. You should definitely listen to Greg Doucette on health and fitness advice. And I've disagreed with him. In fact, there's a video on this channel with me disagreeing with him. But he's way smarter than me. He looks way better than me. He knows a lot more than I do. But I didn't come at him with something that could have took me just a few minutes to find. The story's all there. Why he's not talking about it? Probably because it's giving him a whole lot of views. If he just sits there and says they're lying and doesn't explain the whole thing, which, by the way, shouldn't have to explain the whole thing. He did. He's open and honest. And then one of the guys, fake Natty, he admits he's on steroids. He admits he's on HRT, just like me. What I'm flustered with is, again, these are professional YouTubers. These are guys who get paid to be on YouTube. These are guys whose finances depend on YouTube. I don't get one freaking penny. I don't get any views. I got 11 freaking subscribers. I'm doing this just to vent. My money's right here, behind this wheel. And I could find that. It took me less than 10 minutes. And I have 30-minute break. And I could get this all done in that 30 minutes. That's just sad. And I know I'm not going to name them, and they're never going to see my video, but it's very disappointing. And if you're a professional YouTuber and you watch this, how about you spend a few minutes on your content? A few minutes. I could be wrong, and he could have ratted some other people out, but prove it. The article clearly shows what the chain of events were on this particular thing. And the chain of events doesn't sound like any kind of ratting. And, oh, he got a light sentence. Well, 5 freaking seconds on this, I could already tell you he got a heavy sentence for Schedule 1, and it's a Schedule freaking 4. So, because there was no aggravating event. Yeah. This is why I get so flustered with what should be simple. It's the same thing in politics. If you're going to go spew some things, look, I understand normal people aren't going to go look up articles. I think they should. I do. But professional YouTube, political commentators who don't spend 5 seconds to actually make sure they quote someone right. You got an hour show a day. I drive 11 freaking hours a day. And I could do this better than you? I could get the facts better than you could? These are facts as by this National Post. There were other articles that, more or less said the same kind of things, but the National Post one was better. Really, if you're getting paid to do this, you need to do it. And this is the National Post, and the article title is Project Juice, How Text and Emails Unraveled a Massive Steroid Trafficking Ring. One by one, members of a national steroid distribution ring became ensnared in a lengthy Canadian Border Service Agency investigation. Try harder. Political, health, fitness. Try harder. And Greg, I'm sorry if you watch this, that you had to go through this stupidity of people not being able to look things up. By the appearance, every time I watch your videos, what you're talking about, you actually did the research on, and you know what you're talking about. When you do a natty or not, you talk about how this person said this and that. You spent 10 minutes. In fact, it looks like you spent a few hours researching. And these people couldn't spend 5 seconds, 5 minutes. I lost a lot of respect for a lot of people today. And yesterday. I'd already started losing respect for some of them, but hopefully, when you hear something and somebody puts out an accusation and they don't add information, sources, proof, take the time to look it up, because that's the first thing I heard is apparently this article he ratted, and I was like, okay, and I clicked on the article that they provided. Didn't say that. Look what I found. I'll put the link below so you can go look at this national article, and I'll link the site where I saw the sentencing for Canada. I'll link that below too, so that way you can go look yourself. Spend the time when someone doesn't have proof, find it. Don't believe everything you hear. And the next thing is, this is off the subject. Well, no, it's on the subject because somebody did this too, and this pisses me off. This happens a lot more in politics than it does in this fitness. Somebody say, well, he was thinking. Anytime anyone says this other person was thinking, what they thought is different than what they said, the person who's trying to tell you what someone else is thinking is a fool. Don't listen to them. Because, well, he was thinking that he'd get away with this, and he thought this. That's not what Greg Doucette said. Now, if Greg Doucette thought it, that's one thing. But I can't presume what Greg Doucette thinks, and I cannot rely on somebody else who is not Greg Doucette to tell me what Greg Doucette thinks. I have to take Greg Doucette's word as it is on what he's thinking. I may not believe it, but I cannot rely on somebody else to tell me what another person is thinking. I could only rely on their words. Please, only trust facts and never rely on somebody else's word on what someone else is thinking. and spend a few minutes when it doesn't sound right. Keep the dirty side down.